So for my 15-minute mini teach, I thought it went well. You know, I just chose the beginning portion of my overall lesson plan where I got people familiar with the topic using the terms and using the definitions of the terms. And I, gave personal anecdotes so that they would, see that I was invested and hopefully they would become invested in the assignment. Um, and so this was just to, use as a launching point to get them into their groups where they would build from this, do their research together, brainstorm. They were going to be assigned a specific organism to figure out the genetic and the environmental factors that affect these specific organisms' growth. Build a project that displayed this information and then present it to the class. So it was just focusing on making sure they understood the terminology, understood how these factors worked, and familiarized them with the terms. So that portion went well. Everybody was engaged and asking questions. And what didn't go as well as I would have liked was probably my delivery of the instructions and exactly specifically the note taker that I had brought, and the interactive note taker where they were going to write the definitions of the terms that we're going to be covering and then draw a picture so that they could reinforce that with a different mode, that terminology. So I didn't feel that I initially gave enough instructions so that it was clear, and how that is vital in the classroom, because you don't want people confused. You want people to know what is they're doing and what it is expected, so that everything can go as smooth as possible. Overall, there wasn't really anything that came up that I didn't expect, or everybody's involvement was positive and they interacted and asked questions. And then, the materials that I brought worked. I brought enough for everybody and it functioned just fine in that manner. And, it did accomplish the lesson plan goals. They were, it was pretty simplistic, so it was pretty easy, and they're all willing participants with, who can understand the material pretty easily, especially since it's, like a 7th grade level science, and here we are at university. So, but and anybody could pick up this lesson plan. It's nothing overly complicated, especially PowerPoint and all that. They could just walk through it pretty easily. Again, it was a lot of it was direct instruction, but I did include terms where I asked a lot of questions to get their interaction and input, so that they would be involved and it wasn't just me speaking. I used personal anecdotes so that they would also become, involved and want to, perhaps, share about something about themselves, or, I shared about how I had a dog, and so ask questions like, do you have dogs and cats? And yes. So that, I tried to involve them, even though, this was just a starting point to move on to the group work. I still wanted them speaking, them involved, so that they would be engaged. I found perhaps the most challenging part was just, the atmosphere of the classroom, where this took place, kind of made things difficult. So just the, probably the distractions and noises, but it still went fine, regardless of those. And it really wasn't that big of a deal, but it was a slight distraction. So, overall it went well. And, what I lacked the most was my delivery of the directions for the note taker and exactly what I was expecting. So besides that, it went well.